for nuclear energy. And I kind of giggle when I hear the other candidates talk about it. They can't spell SMR, but they speak as if they know what they do. So I have a little fun with that sometimes.
And so we've got a few questions that people have submitted. And one of them, somebody told me that you are a genius when it comes to like uranium and stuff. Can you kind of explain that to me?
I'm not a genius when it comes to anything, but God gave me the opportunity to work my way up in that career field. I I start, and I apologize to your viewers for the voice. A lot of talking lately and late night last night. I worked my way up from an hourly employee with God's grace to be the director of enriched uranium operations at Y12. So we had all the casting, metal purification, chemical synthesis, metal production. I was the director of operations at Nuclear Fuels up in Urban, making fuel for the Navy and downblending for TVA. I understand the uranium supply chain pretty well. I had uh, I had the opportunity to be a federal program manager and office director in stockpile production integration. So I understand weapons really well. I understand modular reactors pretty well. I'm not a physicist at all, but I do understand some of the challenges and great benefits for nuclear energy. And I kind of giggle when I hear the other candidates talk about it. They can't spell SMR, but they speak as if they know what they do. So I have a little fun with that sometimes.
Well, I can't spell it or speak it. So, in fact, I was previously talking to some people about energy, and one of the questions I get frequently is, what does modernizing the energy grid mean to you? And do you think we need it?
Yes, I do. I think we do. And I think it means an all hands on deck approach and all options, which we have been reluctant to take. We have seen the DC politicians, with their oversight authority of US TVA, limit our production of kilowatts to the point that we use about 1 out of the 4 kilowatts that we use come from outside the state of Tennessee. That's a problem because we're paying market rates for those rather than production rates. We need to. My first year in the General Assembly, we set up an energy policy in Tennessee to become a net exporter of kilowatts. Now that's a big goal, but kilowatts are just like F-250s or donuts. If there's a greater demand for them than what's available, the price of each one of those things goes up. So they're much like a commodity. I think that's number one. I think secondly, we have some great vulnerabilities because of the aging infrastructure. Again, DC politicians who all of a sudden become interested in energy when they run for something else haven't done anything to modernize. We have a US TVA debt structure that does not allow them to invest in a Watts Bar Unit 3 or a Sequoia 3 or something to help not only the production, but also the overall infrastructure and distribution. We saw a few years ago, 3 years ago, I guess now, on Christmas, how close we are to the edge. And we better correct that. One of the things I hope to do as governor is not just electrical infrastructure. We're greatly dependent on kilowatts, but we shouldn't be investing in corporate welfare in the state of Tennessee and building the Titans new stadiums or the Smokies new stadium for those of us here in East Tennessee. It was $13.5 million last year's budget for that. To spend money, the public money, on those things while we have water and infrastructure systems, roads, gas, schools, jails, hospitals, all struggling, and you could make an argument that they fall within a critical infrastructure that could be covered by the Constitution, and to spend that on private entities has been a huge failure of this governor, current governor, and the General Assembly.
For the listeners in there that heard you reference Constitution, are you referring to the state or the federal Constitution there?
I'm referring to both. We have an oath to both, but we within operating in the bounds of the Tennessee Constitution, primarily in how we invest the funds. You know, we just passed a budget for $58.3 billion 2 days ago. I voted against that budget as well. We put money in, I think, or $20 million for the zoo in Memphis, or in Nashville. I'm sorry, and $5 million for the zoo in Knoxville. Important things, but then we can't afford to pay $18,000 to set up the structure for clinical trials for ibogaine treatment for veterans that we've deployed all over the world for 25 years without constitutional authority. And it it rubs me the wrong way that our priorities are so much in grants for things that benefit things outside the bounds of the Constitution, and we lose the focus of priority on those things that we have an obligation constitutionally to take care of. And certainly, I think that falls if you're governor under the state constitution, the president and Congress under the U.S. Constitution have the authority to deploy troops, then they also have the responsibility to care for them when they return home.